Good morning, grade 4s. Welcome to Natural Science. It is Tuesday, so I hope that you are bright and ready to start the day. I hope you all slept well, that you're doing well, that you're healthy. I hope that you are still keeping active in some way, running around the garden, doing some yoga or Pilates or something exciting to keep your bodies active. And I just hope that you're happy and that you're okay. But I'm here with you and ready to learn science, and so let's begin. Right, so today we are going to learn about what plants need in order to grow. So in the section of life and living, just to recap what we've done, we've looked at Mrs. Gren, we've looked at the structure of plants, we've looked at the structure of animals, and for those of you that remember Pebbles, he's actually sitting on his cage right next to me, and he's looking at me, but I'm sure he's saying hello. He helped me to teach the lesson yesterday on the structure of animals and the different parts of an animal, just like we learned last week on the different parts of a plant. Now today I'm going to be referring to a lot of the information that we learned from our lesson last week on plants during this particular lesson of what plants need in order to grow. Okay, so let's have a look what we're going to be looking at. We are going to look at sunlight, we're going to look at air, we're going to look at water, soil, then we're going to look at growing new plants, and then an activity on how to grow your own plant from bean seed, or actually any type of seed you've got at home for that matter. Okay, but we'll come to that. Right, so what do plants need to grow? So firstly, plants need sunlight in order to grow. Plants need air from the atmosphere in order to grow. Plants need water, just like you and I need water in order to survive and to live and grow and develop. Plants also need water. And then lastly, plants need soil. So those 4 components are very important for plants in order for them to grow. Sunlight, air, water, and soil. Right, and all of those 4 aspects or those 4 components are non-living factors. If you remember from our previous lesson on living versus non-living, all 4 of those factors are non-living that plants need in order to grow. Right, so here's just another picture to show you what plants need. We've got our sunlight, our light energy that's radiating onto the leaves. Then we have carbon dioxide that gets taken into the plant, and then oxygen is released, or should I say excreted from the plant. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that later. Sugar is made by a process called photosynthesis. Okay, good. Then we've got in our soil here, we've got minerals and water, and you can see the little water molecules that are getting absorbed by the roots into the plant. Okay, I'm going to talk about the roots, and I want to see how much you remember about the function of roots. But I'm going to start off with sunlight today. So sunlight is very important for plants because they need sunlight in order to grow and survive. They use the sunlight, the water, and carbon dioxide gas to make food via the process called photosynthesis. Now, something interesting to know about photosynthesis is that if I take that word and I break it up into 2 parts, photo and synthesis, the word photo actually means light and synthesis means to make. So if we put the 2 meanings together, it's using light to make something, and we know that the plants make their own food because plants they don't have mouths to eat delicious hamburgers and pizzas and French fries that what we like to eat, and so they make their own food by photosynthesis, and sunlight is an important component in order for that to happen. Plants use this food to grow and develop once they've made their food by photosynthesis. It stores the rest of the food, which then animals can eat, and when animals and humans eat the plants, they get energy from the plant. Now, next year in grade 5, you are going to learn about food chains and food webs, and specifically looking at the transfer of energy from one organism to the next. And so energy, all energy starts with the solar energy from the sun. That energy is absorbed by the plants. Plants make their own food. Animals come and eat the plants. And that energy is then transferred from one organism to the next. But what starts this energy cycle? Sunlight and the sun. So it is a crucial part of plants, as well as if we didn't have plants, there wouldn't be you or me. So moving on. Right, air. So air I've spoken about before, why air is so important. Plants also need air to live and grow. Plants take in carbon dioxide from the atmosphere for photosynthesis to occur. Oxygen is then excreted into the atmosphere. Remember, the word excreted means to get rid of waste products, either from plants or animals. In order for an organism to be classified as living, it has to be able to excrete. Okay. And so we say the plants, they take in carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Then with photosynthesis, it's not only sunlight that is needed, carbon dioxide is also needed for photosynthesis to occur. And then oxygen is then made from photosynthesis, and oxygen is then excreted from the plant, because the plant doesn't need oxygen. We need the oxygen, right? Then water. Now, boys and girls, just how you and I need water in order to survive. Speaking of which, cheers, here's my glass of water. So just like how you and I need water in order to survive, plants also need water. And so we are going to look at how they get the water, but they need water to grow and to make food. The roots of the plant absorb the water from the soil. This water carries nutrients from the soil to all the parts of the plant. Now, my question to you, who can remember specifically how water is absorbed, or what part of the root absorbs the water from the soil? Do you remember? The root hairs. Good. So remember, the roots are covered in these little hairs, and the nutrients and the water from the soil are absorbed through the root hairs into the root, and then it travels to the rest of the part of the plants wherever the plant needs it. But water is also essential for photosynthesis to occur. Okay, right, soil. So plants are anchored in the soil by their roots. Remember the function of the roots. Anchorage is an important one. It's there to anchor the plant so it can stabilize the plant. And so in order for a plant to anchor itself, it needs to be anchored in soil, right? Their roots absorb the dissolved nutrients from the soil through the root hairs, and to make sure plants get enough of these mineral nutrients, we often add some fertilizer or compost to the soil. And the fertilizers and compost that we can get from our shops, and sometimes we can make our own compost. They're packed with nutrients that the plants absorb, and and then they use them wherever they want in the plant. Right. Now, to recap, the 4 essential components that plants need in order to survive. They need sunlight, they need air, water, and soil. Those 4 aspects plants need in order to survive, grow, develop, and flourish, just like you and I, and what we need in order to live. Okay, so now we're going to look at how do we grow new plants. Now, plants can either be grown from seeds or they can be grown from cuttings. Okay, and I'm going to talk about this little picture over here because you're probably thinking, what on earth is going on here? And then all of a sudden here. Okay, so but we'll come to that. But firstly, just to recap, because we have spoken about seeds before in our previous lesson, seeds grow from flowers that have been fertilized with pollen from another flower. Fertilized seeds can germinate to start growing into a new plant. Remember that the seeds of a plant can be stored in various different ways. They can be stored in a pod, they can be stored in the center of the fruit or vegetable, for example, or on the kernels on a cob, like your sweet corn or millie, right? And we did look at some other examples as well. Then a cutting is made when a piece of a plant, and it's usually the stem, is cut off and planted in soil to start growing roots and forms a new plant. So what we have here in this picture is actually a cutting. It's a part of a plant that's literally been snipped by the stem, and that part of the plant is then immersed in water, so it's placed in water, and you can see over time, look what starts to happen. Roots actually start to grow from the end of that cutting or that stem, and when roots start to grow, we can then replant your plant and in soil, and it will grow and develop into a new plant. So also something that you can try at home. Get a cutting, put it in some water, observe the growth every day. And then plants can also grow from shoots, which are little roots that shoot out of certain places in the stem of the plant and start to grow into a new plant. So those are the various different ways in which plants can grow. And like I said, I want to encourage you, try and grow some plants of your own at home from cuttings. Right, now we're going to look at what do seeds need in order to germinate. Now, this is something that I actually want to encourage all of you to do at home. This is going to be a little experiment that you are going to do. And this is the most important question of your experiment. What do seeds need in order to germinate and to grow? And you are going to find out the answer. So, in all experiments, we follow a scientific method, which I'm sure that you have all done before. So I'm going to go through the scientific method, because remember, whenever we do experiments, we follow a particular method. The scientific method, it is specific, it is accurate, and it allows us to be very organized in learning and discovering certain answers to questions that we may have, and it gives us a step-by-step guide almost, and of the process that we go through. So starting off with our method, we always start with the aim of the experiment, which is like the objective. So your aim for your growing of your bean seed is going to be to determine whether water and sunlight are needed for a seed to germinate. Right, so in this particular experiment, you're going to test whether water and sunlight are needed in order for your seeds to germinate. Moving on to your hypothesis. Remember, a hypothesis is an educated scientific guess. It is usually my favorite part of the scientific method, because your hypothesis can either be correct or it can be incorrect. But it's okay, because this is our guess. But remember, this guess has to be scientific in the way that you have to use some sort of knowledge in order to have this particular guess. So I've written here, if water and sunlight are given to a seedling, then the seedling will grow, because water and sunlight are essential for plants to grow. Now, I haven't done this experiment yet, so I could be wrong. Remember, this was just my guess. And that's the beautiful thing about a hypothesis. Right, so if we look at our materials, you will need bean seeds. And if you don't have bean seeds, if you've got other types of seeds at home, that is also okay. You could also try some millie seeds, sweet corn seeds, any type of seeds. But usually the this works best with bean seeds so that you can actually see the different parts of the plant start to develop from your bean seed. You're also going to need cotton wool, you're going to need water, a shallowish container or a dish, and you're going to need a ruler because as it starts to grow, you're going to be measuring and recording. Okay, let's have a look at the method. Now remember, if you want to pause the video here, you want to write it down, you want to take a snapshot of this part of the video, that's okay. So what you're going to do, you are going to wrap your little bean in some cotton wool. And if you don't have cotton wool, funnily enough, newspaper also works well. Then you are going to place your little bean that is wrapped in cotton. You are going to place it in a shallow container. So it can either be a plate, it can be the lid of something, but something generally shallow. You are then going to wet the cotton wool. So what I would suggest is if some of you have got a spray bottle at home, get some water, put it in a spray bottle and spray the cotton wool that your bean is inside. And you can also do that when you do water it on a daily basis, but try not to flood the cotton wool and make it super saturated. Then you're going to place your container with the wet cotton wool and bean in a sunny spot. So go look somewhere in your house. Where is the sunniest room? Maybe it's on a windowsill somewhere, but on a lovely sunny spot. And then you're going to water your cotton wool daily and make sure that it stays damp. Remember, we want our bean seeds to grow and it has to get water. Well, we hope, because we're doing this experiment, in order for it to grow. You're then going to check on your beans' progress on a daily basis. Maybe some of you are going to be checking it every hour because you might be so excited. But check on it, look at it. Maybe take pictures of your bean as it's starting to grow, daily pictures, because then eventually you'll have a series of pictures that you can actually see the growth and the development of your seed. I want you to keep a diary during the next few weeks to write down what you see. This is called recording your observations. So record what you see, take pictures of what you see, but keep a diary. This is what scientists do. Scientists keep journals and diaries and things as they're conducting experiments, and they need a place in order to store the results of their experiments. And number 8, once the seeds germinate, measure the length of the stems each day with your ruler and record your results. So that's when you're going to be using your ruler. Measure it every day to see how much the plant grows. And remember, it will be gradual, but it will grow and get bigger over time. From your method, the next part of the scientific method is going to be your results. Remember, your observations need to be recorded. So this is now where you've done your method. The next part is now your results. This is the recordings of what you have done. I would draw up a table and put all of your measurements in a table. So every day, put your date. So date in one column and your length of your bean seed in the next column. Remember to measure. You'll probably be measuring, I would say, in millimeters because you'll start off small. And always remember to stick to one measurement, one unit of measurement. Don't start in millimeters and then move on to centimeters. Rather start in one unit of measurement and continue in that unit of measurement throughout growing your particular bean seed. Once you've done your results and you have done your experiment, you're going to come to a conclusion. You're going to say, is your hypothesis correct or was it incorrect? Now remember, if we go back to the hypothesis over here, we said if water and sunlight are given to a seedling, then the seedling will grow because water and sunlight are essential for plants to grow. So in your conclusion, your hypothesis was either correct or it was incorrect, and you need to give a reason why. Why was it correct? Why was it incorrect? And this is where you refer back to your results to give you that reason for whether your hypothesis was correct or incorrect. And then lastly, did you answer your question? And your question was, remember that our aim was, is sunlight and water essential for plants to grow or for a bean seed to grow? And we're going to be answering it yes or no. Maybe your bean is not growing at all. And then we think, okay, well, beans don't need it. They do though, but that's why you do an experiment. And then from there, I want you to maybe think of different ways to maybe test or experiment using your bean seed from a different aspect. Maybe do this experiment again, but now put your bean seed, one bean seed in a dark cupboard and leave the other bean seed on the windowsill and see what happens. Or maybe water the one with water and then the other one with Energade, see if it grows or whatever. But I want you to just open up your mind and get excited about experimenting. Right, grade 4s, that brings us to the end of our lesson for today. Hope you've enjoyed it. There's many different suggestions of activities that I've suggested for you to do today. So you should be keeping busy around the house. Just please, whatever you do, do not go around cutting up your mother's or father's garden. If you're going to start growing new seeds or new plants from cuttings or whatnot, please ask them first. But I hope you do. I do encourage all of you to do it because it's lots of fun. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you all tomorrow. Hakuna Matata. Be kind to one another. Bye.